one more short story. Hello and welcome to episode 8 of One More Short Story with me, Chris Fulwell, the show where we take stories from the world of writing battle, we get them narrated and we put them out into the world for you good people to enjoy. Looking forward to sharing the stories with you today. If you're someone that's been introduced to the podcast but hasn't taken part in writing battle yourself, you're very welcome here. It's a lot of fun. You draw your prompts to get your story writing going. You get a genre, you might get a character or a location or an object, a mixture of those things, and you're off. And then it's a knockout tournament. Check out writingbattle.com for more details. Part of the writing battle system is you choose your class in advance of a battle starting. They're D&D sort of themed, so you might get a cleric or a wizard or a warlock or a fighter. Now this episode is themed around fighters, and those of you who have taken part in a few battles will be thinking, what on earth is he on about? Because the fighter just means you get extra redraws, extra opportunities for genres to look at, and you're throwing yourself in randomly. Now these stories are not random by any stretch of the imagination. However, they do all contain people fighting back. The characters in this are absolutely fighters. They're going to stay with you, these stories. A quick heads up that the stories in Writing Battle and in the podcasts will contain, adult, grown-up stuff. That doesn't mean graphic, shall we say, X-rated material, but it does mean that there will be stories intended for a mature audience, and just a heads up on that. Our first story today is Ruthless by Nicole Caliro. And Ruthless featured in the 2025 Autumn Short Story competition in the heist category, a 2,000 word short story, and her prompts were heist, secret room, and propagandist. Now, Ruthless is narrated by Maverick Jones, who's done a really good job as always, and the main character in this is one who really stands their ground. You're going to enjoy this one. So, here we go. Here is Ruthless by Nicole Caliro, read by Maverick Jones.
Brothers and sisters, we gather in the promise of New Eden, where the garden is restored and the serpent is crushed beneath the heels of the righteous. We remember Reverend Silas Boone. Though his own daughter was lost to darkness, he offered up his grief and built this refuge so no child of God would be swallowed again. Out there, the world worships chaos. Women unled, children unbroken, men stripped of their holy dominion. But here, we return to order. Here, the faithful flourish by surrender. Let your will fall away like the chaff. Let your Father tend to you. Only obedience plants the seeds of blessing. The man at the pulpit takes a moment to get choked up, his eyes shining. He puts a hand on his heart and takes a deep breath. Give me your fear, your heart, your will, and I will make you whole. Fuck that shit, I think to myself. Women weep, men puff out their chests, children sit blank and obedient. Not me. I scan for one face, dark hair, 15, too quiet. But I don't see her, not yet. I know men like Eli Goodwin, a narcissist, corrupt, money-hungry, small-dicked waste of space. Not that I'm biased or anything. I have a job to do. I look the part. I act the part. Applause swells, lights dim. Someone yells, "Cut!" The cameras go out, but the glazed faces of followers remain speckled with sweat from the hot industrial lights of the church's studio. Everyone files out, and Brother Eli nods as he heads up the aisle towards me. Some beam at his attention, others cower. His smile is television broadcast perfect, and I wonder how much tithing paid for the shiny caps taking up a residence in his mouth. Miss Sloane, we are so pleased you're able to join us on this holy day. Holy day, my ass. It was the only day his people would allow him to sit down for an interview with Sloane Dawkins. The actual Sloane Dawkins of Kingdom Life Media is having some car trouble outside of Waco. Her purse and phone are also missing. Poor thing. Of course, when I'm finished here, I'm sure they'll find their way back to her. Thank you, Mr. Goodwin, I say, intentionally getting his name wrong. Please. Call me Brother Eli, he corrects, kind but irritated. When we pledge our lives to New Eden, we abandon our legal names. Of course, Brother Eli, I'm sorry. Thank you for having me. I lower my eyes to imply I'm ashamed of my misstep. I feel him soften. So predictable. There's nothing religious men like more than a woman they believe they've put in her place. I wonder briefly what time it is, where we're at in the countdown. Phones, watches, and clocks of any kind are all surrendered upon entering the temple. If the timing is right, the signal will come any second. I just pray I'm upstairs before the fireworks start. Miss Sloane, would you like to accompany me to my chambers? It's a bit more personal there, and we want to make sure you see the real New Eden. We want you to have full access and transparency. This is obviously a lie, but I play along. I want to get upstairs. I want to find Nora. He walks me through the gardens, the temple, the prayer room, and up a staircase to the second floor where his personal chambers spill out onto a sprawling veranda overlooking hill country. I'm guessing they're going for a Vatican City vibe, but it reeks of a McMansion. I imagine this is what SNL would come up with if they were spoofing the Pope. He settles into a plush crimson chair and motions for me to sit. If you're comfortable, Miss Sloane, please feel free to begin. I cross my ankles, sit up straight, and clear my throat, reaching to be at my most demure. Of course, Brother Eli. Where did you get the idea for New Eden? There was no idea for New Eden, my dear. All our practices, sermons, and beliefs stem entirely from the same holy scripture our ancestors have studied for centuries. Well, yes, to a degree, but many of the practices said to take place are controversial to those on the outside. Purity interviews, isolation pods. We help the devout connect with God, he replies. There is no one-size-fits-all way to worship. Everything we do is safe, consensual, and law-abiding. And what do you say to those in the mainstream media who claim New Eden is a cult? There will always be those who fear what they don't understand. I invite any skeptics to come to one of our services and decide for themselves. All our practices are voluntary and rooted firmly in biblical teachings. We provide structure and purpose, and those who spend time with us give freely as they wish and thanks for the spiritual awakening they've experienced. And, of course, for those who prefer this language, we're recognized by the IRS as a church and are constitutionally protected. Gotta love that Constitution, I say, my character slipping. Eli pauses for a moment at that and takes a sip of tea. I let my eyes scan the plush room, wondering what horrors have taken place here. Are you married, Miss Sloane? No. Why? I haven't found the right person. That's a myth of the secular world. The right person is a God-fearing man willing and able to provide for you financially, spiritually, and reproductively. Would you consider yourself a feminist? No, sir, I say. I'm thrilled to hear it. Though even the most devout women have feminist tendencies from traditional schooling, they don't recognize our coloring their judgment. We'd be happy to have you join one of our classes on the feminine divine to awaken your womanly power. That's very interesting. And who teaches that course? Brother Jonah, Brother David, and sometimes myself. He puts his hand on my knee. I wonder if the girl I'm looking for ended up in one of these courses. Only God knows what's best for you. Why so many women? I ask, tilting my head innocently to the side. 3 women for every man. Why do you think your teaching speaks more to women? I see that he likes this question, but he doesn't have time to answer. Gunshots crack from the north side of the compound. 2 o'clock. Here it comes. We freeze. An alarm scream. The chamber door bursts. A man slams in, grabs Eli, and hauls him away. Stay down, he snarls. I stay. The door slams closed. I'm locked inside. Don't love that. If all goes well, chaos and gunfire will continue for several more minutes. I have a dozen armed agitators at the front, painstakingly collected from a network of former New Eden survivors across the country, and a getaway car closing in at the back. Now devoid of its usual guards. I find the lever by the bed. One quick yank, and the far wall pops open. I step into a candlelit octagonal room with large paintings of women on each wall. I recognize them from childhood. Jezebel, Delilah, Eve. I've been away for decades, but the images of the fallen women are still burned into my brain. The floor is made of yellow tiles circling a large industrial drain. The tiles closest to the drain are stained a deep rust red. Photos fill the back wall. Brother Eli, Brother David, Brother Jonah. Photo after photo of them with other powerful men in this very room. An Oscar winner, a sitting senator, a former president, one of the guys from the Hallmark movie channel. And then, of course, unsurprisingly, my father, Reverend Silas Boone, the motherfucker to end all motherfuckers. I haven't seen his face in years, but the moment I see it, the scar on my back tingled. I was 13. I hadn't been bleeding for even an hour when my father and the elders held me down and branded me with the iron rod. Ready for marriage. Even now, all these years later, it still makes me laugh to think of how angry my father would be to learn I never married, secular or not. But today isn't about Silas Boone, and it's not even about me. It's about Nora. She's my purpose, my paycheck, and her mother's just outside of Austin waiting for her. I feel the walls around the paintings, looking for buttons, levers, anything that might reveal another room or compartment. Beneath each painting is a drawer. I open one. The drawer is full of gray ash. I pull at something small and burgundy emerging from the ash and find a passport. Elena Petrova. I recognize the name. She has been officially missing for years now. I move to the next drawer. More ash, this time with a small stuffed animal. Bile rises in my throat. I quickly check the other drawers. A ring, a hair tie, a rainbow pencil eraser, more women clothes, more missing women. The last drawer. No ashes, only a key. A key to what? All of a sudden, I'm hit with silence. The alarms have stopped. Fuck. Hello? A voice called. Nora? I asked. Who's there?
Nora Shelton, right? Your mother, Nancy, hired me to find you. Are you okay? Yes, I just can't get out.
I look around for the source of the voice. Her voice echoes like it's coming from every corner. I ask her to keep talking. At the drain, I fit the key. It turns with a gritty click. The grate pops open. A pair of eyes reflects in the dark. I haul her up. She's 15, but could pass for 12. Thin, dirty, terrified. I try to stand her up, but she winces. Her feet are red and bloody. They cut my feet, so I can't run. Don't worry. I'll get you out of here, I say. Sister Ruth, Eli's voice calls from the entrance. Ruth? Nora asks, looking at me confused. He's talking about me, I answer. Eli smiles. I recognized you the moment I saw you. Yeah, I remember you too, Eli. Brother Eli, he corrects with sanctimony. Go fuck yourself, I tell him. His smile tightens. I see you're still resisting God's plan, he says. Your father would be so disappointed in you. I'm sure you're right. From the moment you were branded, you were trouble. Oh, I was trouble long before that. There's still time for you to repent. Fulfill your purpose. Honor God with your life, your body. I pause. Really? Yes, he steps forward. Repent now while you can still bear children and save your soul. Are you sure? I ask. He takes another step towards me and puts a hand on my shoulder. I reach for the crucifix around my neck and bow my head. Yes, be fruitful with God. The cross in my hand collapses, a blade sliding free. I twist and plunge. The steel finds the soft place in his neck. His eyes widen, shocked. He makes a wet little sound. Good. Let it hurt. Blood runs down the drain to join the remnants of all the women and girls who died in this room before him. Are you ready to go? So, you're her? You're Ruth? Nora asks. I was. Not anymore. I kneel, drag the iron from Boone's wall, and cup it to a votive candle until the metal smokes. I press it to what's left of his throat. It hisses, and he goes quiet. I shoulder Nora, step over him, and for the second time in my life I race out of the compound. This time with a small girl on my back and an ash-streaked passport in my fist. Next time, I burn it to the ground.
Powerful stuff there from Nicole, read by Maverick. Thank you both very, very much. There is something sort of gruesomely satisfying about hearing characters like that getting it in the neck, quite literally, about seeing or hearing, in this case, the protagonist coming out on top over some deeply unpleasant people. I was rooting for Ruth to succeed all the way through that, and I'm very, very glad she did. Nicole got all the way to the Ferocious Four with that one in a hugely competitive genre. So the final four semi-finals out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of writers, and very well-deserved success. Well done, Nicole. Our next story is Life is But a Dream by Ashley Riott. With this story, it was from the summer nanofiction in the Under the Bed category last year. What Ashley's done is she's had the prompts Under the Bed, Psychopath, and Raft. She's created something rather haunting, very poetic, and intense. And I mean that in the best way. It's narrated by Melanie York. I don't want to say too much more about this. I want you to enjoy it, to take it in. It's a very powerful piece of storytelling. Here we go. This is Life is But a Dream by Ashley Riott, read by Melanie York.
I was 13 when I finally slew the sea monster beneath my bed. Darkness poured through the window that night, rising like black water until my mattress bobbed alone on miles of ocean. Mother always said a bed can be a raft, and a raft is a fortress, so I gripped the blankets, singing softly, trying to calm the fear rising within. Row, row, row your boat. Above, something slid across the roof, scraping shingles like passing tentacles. Panic cinched my throat, stomach, bladder. Hot ink spilt, soaking pajamas. Briny stench rising. Drenched blankets lapped at my ankles, slick, alive, and I thrashed, sure the beast had breached the hole, tumbling to the floor. Gently down the stream. Planks groaned as the Leviathan hauled itself up from below, belly sloshing bud-like tides. Door kicked open, mouth full of foam curses, barley breath washing over me. A tsunami. His belt, a kraken's lash, snapped across shame-soaked skin, bruises for ballast. Merrily, 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 merrily. I scuttled to the table and seized scissors as the creature lunged. Wheeling around, I found myself facing the storming psychosis of its eye. Steel first. Blades punched pupil with a wet kershk. The orb popped, and translucent jellyfish dribbled down on us both. I struck again, harpooning the second socket. The Leviathan lurched, slipping on its red tide, spilling us across the carpet. Silence and stillness pooled. I exhaled. Crawling back onto my raft, I folded into myself and rocked, slow and oarless, singing softly. Life is but a dream. Life is but a dream. Life is but a dream.
It's really something. It's a heck of a piece. It really does conjure up all kinds of images and how the main character has dealt with so much and just takes their violent revenge. I did, and this is a really important point actually, because when I was setting this podcast up and grouping it with the other stories, I had grouped the pieces by stories of women you don't mess with, sort of, though she be but little, she is fierce. I put this to the writers and said, this is how I'm grouping you together, and Ashley very gently and very kindly pointed out to me that nowhere in the story does it say the gender of the main character. What I'd done is I'd read it, and with it being a female author, I'd done what my brain, and I imagine a fair few other people's brains do too, is to assume that the gender of the person writing it is the same as the character within the story. And that, of course, is not true. Sometimes it is, but not always. And in the absence of any identifying information, that's just where my brain leapt. Now, I'm grateful to Ashley for pointing that out to me, because even though it was read by a female narrator who did a great job, really haunting, lovely singing from Melanie, but a very haunting quality to it too. Obviously, people who go through those horrendous experiences, as alluded to in that story, are absolutely not just female. And yeah, it's important that we remember that. And it's made me, pay attention to when I'm reading stories that don't make the details of the main character clear, not to assume too much. There we go. It's an education for me as well. Now, Ashley got herself to the thrilling 32 in the summer nanofiction competition, which is fantastic. Again, huge competition, huge amounts of writers out there. And she should be deservedly proud of this. Our last story today, our third and final one, is Last Laugh by Robert Dyer. Now, this was in the mystery genre from the Fear Battle in 2025. And Robert's prompts were mystery, clown, and soap. Robert's done a fantastic job with this one. He really has. It's a hugely enjoyable story. It is narrated by Ryan Paige, Ryan's first narration for us on One More Short Story. And Ryan and his wife run an audio production company called Paige Vox. They're really good. They're really quite something. If you're looking for an audio production company for your business or for anything else you're running, I recommend checking them out. And I'll put their details on social media and things. He's also on the Writing Battle forum, I should add. But yeah, Robert's done a really, really good job here, and I'm not going to spoil the story because I think you're really going to enjoy this. I know I did. So here is Last Laugh by Robert Dyer, narrated by Ryan Paige.
In his long career as a mortician, Horace Grayson had seen grief in many forms, but never like this. You heard me. I want him made up like a clown. Opposite him sat a widow with a face radiating warmth. Her dry eyes showed no signs of redness. With her gray hair and sweet smile, she looked as if she should have been offering Horace a plate of cookies instead of planning a funeral. Was this a last request from your husband? Her slight chuckle shook Horace's professional disposition. No. As a matter of fact, I don't recall Malcolm expressing an opinion one way or another about clowns. Then, why? The smile remained, but a firmness took root in her tone. If my request makes you uncomfortable, I'll be happy to try another establishment in town. Horace knew it didn't matter where Mrs. Abernathy would go. Every funeral director in town would be talking about this for a long time. Mother, stop being unreasonable. Her well-tailored son and even more stylish daughter-in-law sat with features of grim horror etched on their faces. Father doesn't deserve this. It's crazy. Her serenity remained as she patted his hand. Michael, I was married to your father for more than 40 years. I know what I'm doing. Horace watched Michael's wife twisting her handkerchief in knots. At least agree to close the casket for the visitation and the funeral. Think of the people in the church, she pleaded. Betsy, I am thinking of them. In my own way, of course. The widow stood and offered her hands to Horace. Thank you for your help, Mr. Grayson. I'll have what you need sent over this afternoon. You may drive me home now, Michael. Horace watched the three exit his office. The widow moved with quiet composure while Michael and Betsy tried to get her to reconsider. Once their voices faded, he picked up the phone. Ted, stop whatever you're doing on Abernathy. You're not going to believe this. The visitation line at the funeral home stretched around the block. It had started out small, but once word spread of the deceased's appearance, people flocked to get a look. In his open $7,500 imperial casket lay someone who looked like a refugee from the Big Top. Malcolm Abernathy, bank president, sported a bright red wig that threatened to escape the casket's confines. The white grease paint covering his face smoothed his features as it filled all the wrinkles of age. That's one benefit of clownhood, thought Horace. Mrs. Abernathy was insistent that his mouth have the widest smile possible, along with the traditional red nose. No sad clown for Malcolm. I want him smiling. Horace fought an internal battle about asking where Helen Abernathy, pillar of local society, would have gotten the outfit she supplied. He had never seen a shirt with a cacophony of colors fighting predominance. An oversized boutonniere was pinned to it. More than one person whispered about whether or not they were in danger of being squirted. Baggy purple pants and oversized bright yellow shoes completed the outfit. Horace tested the footwear for flexibility so they would fold when the lid finally closed. Malcolm's hands clutched not a bouquet, but a balloon animal resembling a dachshund. Throughout the visitation, Horace watched Mrs. Abernathy dodge questions from inquisitive minds. "Who's to say what's unusual these days? Michael and Betsy aren't here tonight because of illness. I'm doing very well, thank you. No, I'm not on any medication." The question no one dared ask, but all wanted to know was, why? The next day, the church was packed like it was Christmas Eve and Easter combined. No one wanted to miss the grand finale. In the front pew sat the widow, accompanied by her son and daughter-in-law. Helen Abernathy maintained her tranquil nature, while Michael kept his eyes riveted anywhere but on his father. Betsy found refuge behind a veil thick enough to serve as a protective shield. Horace stood in the back, watching the service. Despite Malcolm Abernathy looking like he belonged in the center ring instead of in front of an altar, the proceedings were no different from the countless last rites he had attended. Hymns were sung, prayers were offered, and the minister extolled the deceased's virtues. Until the pulpit was turned over to the widow. "Malcolm would be pleased so many of you came today. I know some of you, but many of you are strangers to me. No doubt you're probably here out of curiosity." Horace watched Michael twist in his seat. "I loved him dearly for 43 years. Malcolm's wish was my command, and I never resented that role. His death by slipping on soap in the club locker room was a shock to me, to Michael, and to all who knew him. He hadn't planned to die. If he had, I'm sure he wouldn't have left these." Every neck in the church craned as Helen pulled a stack of letters from her handbag. A ripple of hushed conversation spread like a gentle wave. Love letters from not one, not two, but dozens of women that he treasured over the years. Some of you are here today. The smile never left her face. I know this town, so I know many of you knew, but never told me. Her gaze settled on Michael. Despite the distance, Horace thought he could hear Michael's gulp. Malcolm made me a laughingstock with your help. The last laugh, though, is mine. She reached into the pulpit, removed a cream pie, and approached her husband's body. Michael jumped to his feet to stop the final desecration. With perfect aim, Helen deftly tossed it, not at Malcolm, but scored a direct hit in her son's face. Then, with shoulders erect and chin held high, Helen marched down the aisle and out of the church. Yes, Horace thought, this one will be talked about for a long time.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Really, really good story. Very, very well written by Robert. You can see why it got as far as it did. The story placed runner-up in the entire competition. Absolutely glorious work. And on a different day, it may have taken the whole thing. And Ryan, excellent narration. I'm sure we'll be working with Ryan more in the future. I just love that story. It's just the idea of something so heartbreakingly plausible of the widow finding out what she does, and then just cranking up the intensity and the absurdity of that into the clown makeup and everything she does at the funeral. It's a great kind of comedy. It's grounded in a kind of sharp pain of reality, and then it's just cranked up so you can't help but laugh. It's extremely well done. Okay. 3 stories with the theme of fighter. That brings us to the end of episode 8 of One More Short Story with me, Chris Fulwell. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it, and we will see you again next time.